don't let me act a fool. Please don't let me use the tool. Please don't let me get the slapping. Please don't let me make it happen. Please, oh God, keep my integrity. Please don't let me commit a felony. Please forgive thy enemy. Please forgive me, cause you know I need therapy.
I'm super excited. We have EA Ski on the line today. EA is a recording artist as well as a multi-platinum producer. He's worked with names like Ice Cube, Dr. Dre, E40, Too Short, and I'm sure the list goes on and on. Hey, EA.
What's going on with it?
Hey, thanks for joining us today.
It's all love. It's all love.
So I'm sure one big question your fans and everybody listening might have is, when did you start doing music?
Well, I started doing music in junior high, and just as a hobby like everybody else, man. Just loving hip hop music, and the music, the culture was really it was allowing a lot of artists to express themselves, which I couldn't sing and I couldn't break dance, I couldn't do none of those things, and I was like, well, man, and I actually started off like, DJing a little bit, what I'm saying? Not like DJing for real, but just, messing around with records and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And started doing a couple of rap contests, and was pretty strong and won several rap contests, and it just kind of stuck. And I started, really trying to, but it still was a hobby, so I just started, building off of it. But it kind of started in like junior high.
Mm-hmm. So it started off just like as a hobby, a little interest.
Yeah, just an interest, because hip hop wasn't really like super big. It was just breaking into the limelight, and it was kind of more underground. But it was moving to underground, and it was moving me from where I was from, East Oakland, California, and it definitely allowed me to be able to vent through my music because when you come from an urban environment, you don't have an opportunity to really speak your mind, so you're able to speak through records, so just being able to write and vent what I'm going through, and and being a teenager, the things that I'm going through, it's kind of therapeutic. So it definitely started out as a hobby and then grew on.
Okay, I see. So you used music as like a hobby and an outlet, and it just happened to grow into something more. So coming up, who did you look up to as far as music goes? Did you have any icons?
Well, I'm kind of a little different. I have a lot of icons and artists that I looked up to, but it's not just was musically. It was just in general. I always looked up to leaders like Malcolm X and Black Panther leaders, and just watching what they stood for. And then of course growing up on my parents' music, listening to Marvin Gaye and the Temptations and the Spinners and the Dramatics and, just the music they grew up, it allowed me to really understand the music of their culture, so, that allowed me to respect what was going on with my own culture and see, if the music is developing, to a whole nother level from, what my parents grew up on. So, I'm inspired by a lot of different people. I mean, but as far as hip-hop wise, my first big inspiration was Run DMC. They really set the bar and really, really made me want to take hip-hop seriously because they were so powerful in their delivery, their music. They took a chance with their music. They didn't just rap, over, just boom bap. They was rapping over rock. They was rapping over reggae. They was doing a lot of diversified things before their time. So it just really showed you that music and hip hop don't have no limitations. You can do whatever you want to do. So that was my first inspiration.
Okay, so the legendary Run DMC, first big hip hop inspiration for you. So you mentioned starting to do music in middle school. At what point did you decide you wanted to be a producer and an artist? Like at what point did you say, this is definitely what I want to do?
I never wanted to be a producer.
Oh.
That's the funny part about that. I was kind of forced to be a producer. When you look at today's generation now, the technology is a little bit different. So you can do everything now. You can be a producer, you can be a rapper, you can be an engineer, a mixer. In my era, being a rapper was being a rapper. You'd be good at it because there was so many great rappers back in the day. Especially coming out of the East Coast. I mean, that's a whole nother topic. Them dudes were so talented that being on the West Coast, you had to figure out how you could fit in because all the labels and stuff was there. So I started off as being a rapper, but the problem is back then there was nobody producing music, and we was just rapping over instrumentals like the back of the vinyl, of people's records that were big like Houdini or Run DMC. They would always have an instrumental. So I started rapping on rapping to the instrumentals to just try to get my buzz cracking. And just one day I just got tired of it. I was like, man, I need my own music identity. And that's when I started teaching myself how to really, play music and really, finding, like it started off me just trying to find different notes to play that I thought would, fit what I was trying to do. And I started really, really getting dope at it to the point where when I was doing my demos, companies were like, hey, I love what you're doing, but can you do some music for us? Because they liked the music I was doing for myself. And so I, by default, became a producer,
Oh, okay, I see. So it's kind of like, that thing where if you want something done, you got to do it yourself. So you started doing your own thing. Then you got so good at it that other people wanted you to do it for them.
One thing about me, I'm a perfectionist in everything I do. I was really dope as an artist, but, then I started figuring out I needed to make the music to go with my artistry. So then I started getting dope as that because I practiced every day. Like I just stayed in the studio. I stayed working and trying to find ways to make music and back then it was all about being original. So even then I had my own sound that people was definitely starting to really want to be a part of. So I just always practiced and practiced and practiced, and I think that allowed me to be dope as an artist as well as a producer. But, of course, there'd be so many artists and not that many producers that the production started to take its own entity, and it allowed to open up other doors for me to do stuff with bigger artists, and that's kind of how the production kind of started over-dominating, artistry-wise.
That's actually pretty dope. So at this point, what do you do more? Do you see yourself more as an artist or as a producer, or is it equal?
For me, it's more production because I'm in so demand. You know what I mean? Like, I'm doing so much stuff, which is dope because production is diversity. You know what I mean? As an artist, I do it when I have something I really need to say and get off my chest. So I definitely do them equally, but both hats, it rotates. Like if I'm in artist mode, I'm just writing. I'm writing bars, and I'm making sure that the bars is phenomenal. When I'm in production mode, which most of the time I am because I deal with so many artists, then I'm in trying to make sure that production is dope. So I do them both very well, but when I take one hat off, I'm in that mode. When I take this hat off, I'm in that mode, and I'm not gonna compromise it. I'm gonna make sure I go hard on both of them. So I wouldn't favor one or the other. But if you ask me, like overall, people would know me from production because I do so much for so many different artists and so many different people.
Okay, I completely understand. So you feel like you're seen more as a producer because you do so much as a producer, but you do wear many hats and you wear them all well. As far as your art goes, being your music, how is it influenced by your childhood and your upbringing, the way you were brought up?
I mean, that's where my music comes from. It's my influence, my childhood, the things that I went through, the peer pressure in the streets. I come from, East Oakland once again. So, I come from the crack era. I was in that era where, drugs and the cracks was strong. I had a lot of homies that was in the game, a lot of homies that died, a lot of homies that's in the feds. It's just now starting to come home from the feds. So, to be involved in that environment and not get caught up in that environment and be able to tell it through your music and tell how you had to weather those storms and how you had to, still defend yours and not, become a product of your environment is what I talk about through my music. You know what I mean? And that's very important because if I didn't have music, maybe I would not be as, it'd be so mentally in my mind that maybe I would be a different person. But so rap has allowed me to be able to therapeutically talk about things that goes on in the cultures, the struggles, the goods, the bads, and just be able to make records that shows the diversity of where I come from. But I come from a strong family with morals and values. I'm very thankful that I have both my parents that played a big pivotal role in me having infrastructure to not be insecure and to be able to be productive in my thinking and go out there and make music without feeling peer pressure to be a certain type of way. So my upbringing is a little bit different. I have another thing growing up and with a lot of great mentors around me. So it just molded my music to be the person that people love right now.
That's good. See, it's always important when you have a craft or an art to be able to express your personal truth through it. People have different opinions about hip hop, like what hip hop is. How would you define hip hop?
I mean, hip hop is organic, and I always use that word because I think people tend to forget. People can go back 20, 30 years ago when they was a kid, whether they was an elementary or young kid, and when you think about hip hop, it didn't have no rules and regulations. You weren't trying to make the same type of record the next man is making. You weren't trying to rhyme like the next man that was rhyming. That was a sin. You know what I mean? And people forget that once it loses the organicness of the music and the culture, that it can't go no further. At some point in time, the music will play out and fade out like disco, like rock and roll. People forget these are black cultures that eventually, you don't know it to be black cultures unless you know the history. And hip-hop is walking down a dangerous lane right now because people are very scared to be themselves and make creative music. Everybody wants the vanity. And in the Bible, vanity is a sin. So when you want all of these superficial things and you're not appreciating the skills to be your own man or your own woman, you know what I mean? It loses the organicness of the music. The music shouldn't. I'm not going in the studio. Oh, let me make a record for the radio today. Oh, let me make a club record today. Oh, let me make a street record today. I go in and make music that I feel, and then when I hear it, I write the way it feels. I don't contrive trying to make records. I just think that I've never won making records like that. All my records has been big because I didn't think it was going to be big. I just made something I felt good about. And that was hip hop. It was organic, And, at the end of the day, that's my feeling about what hip hop should be. Now, where it's at right now is it's so commercialized, and we're in a new generation where it's easily manufactured, meaning anybody that has a computer can become a beat maker. They can become a DJ. They can become a rapper. They can become an engineer. Hey, you couldn't do that in my era. You had to pay dues. And when you paid dues, it solidified and validated your position because you had to spend money to be in the hip hop. You had to really invest in yourself. Now you don't have to invest in yourself. So hip hop has lost the organicness and the drive and the dedication. So now when it becomes just a business, like anything, it gets corrupt and it takes a little bit of the depth away, and along with the bootlegging and free downloads and streaming and all of this stuff, it just takes some of the organicness away from hip hop,
Right, that is so true. And then it seems so hard to find true organic hip hop these days. And you kind of just answered my next question, which was about this new age hip hop. It just seems so, like you said, commercialized and trendy. What is your take on all that?
Well, like the thing with that is it's good and it's bad. With everything, it has its pros and cons. Even when you're doing traditional hip hop, you want it to grow where it can become commercial. I think the problem is there's no balance. There's a place for everything. Like, some of the stuff that going on today is great, But when it's oversaturated to the point where people are scared to be creative and original, that's when you have to draw the line because there's no balance. It'd be just like if it's just nothing but women in the world and there's no men. Well, what's going on? If it's just men in the world and there's no women, what's going on? If it's just all male rappers and no female rappers, what's going on? You know, like we have to be able to coexist in everything. So when there's no coexistence of, okay, you got the commercial stuff, but you got the underground stuff, and that's getting exposed just like the commercial, then it can circulate and continue to grow. But when you cut the roots off and it's just this, there's nowhere to grow. There's nowhere you can go because there's no diversity. Diversity is the key to everything when you're talking about artistically.
Right, that's so true. Balance, diversity, versatility, those things are so key when it comes to this type of stuff. Speaking of versatility, we've seen other artists venture off into things like modeling, acting. Is this something you've ever thought about doing when it comes to your career?
You know, like I said again, you know, hip hop is organic and it's become a $1 billion business where everything is possible now because it is commercial. So a person that loved my music, like I got endorsed by Mercedes-Benz, you know, I got endorsed by a couple of music companies and Roland and some of these big companies and, you know, diamond companies. And, you know, it allows other opportunities if you stay in tune with what got you to get these endorsements, meaning you can't branch out and do movies and all of that if your music ain't as strong as the people that loved you for what they want to bring you into now. You kind of get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I never thought in a million years that I would do a short movie with Danny Glover, which is, you know, a phenomenal actor that was in The Color Purple, that was in the movie Shooter, that was in Lethal Weapon. Like, I mean, for me to do that is just, I mean, it's a blessing. But it's because I'm good at my music. And when you're great at what you do, it opens up other opportunities. So the sky's the limit. But no, I never thought about it like that. Like I said again, if I could tell you I thought about that, then that means that what I just said was a contradiction. Everything's organic. I didn't think that I would be doing music at this level. But I organically stayed focused and working hard at my craft, that it opened up other doors for my music to sell, for me to be on big soundtracks, for me to sell millions and 30 million records and do some of the records with some of the biggest artists in the world because I was dedicated and I organically made my music. And now that opens up chances to be on soundtracks and do movies and do all of that. So, you know, no, I never thought that, you know, that would happen, but it's a blessing that my foundation is strong to be able to do that.
Right. Okay. That makes sense. So it's like it's not something that you was just thinking, okay, yeah, I want to be in movies, I want to do this. You just were doing what you like to do and what you're good at. And
none of us, you know. Like even when you think about, you know, my homie Ice Cube, I mean, he was doing his thing. He was asked to do a movie based upon the stuff he talked about through his records. And that's how he got an opportunity to do The Boys in the Hood. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you know, opportunities come when you're dedicated and you're focused and you're not contriving. And I think that's why I said music is, you know, hip-hop is organic, because all kinds of opportunities open up if you're dedicated to what you do. But when it becomes like, oh, I'm doing this for the money, or I'm doing this because I want to get on, or I want to do this because I want to be seen, or I want to do, like, that's when you lose the essence of the culture. And now you become a gimmick. Now you become a person that's just an entertainer that's just around for a short period of time. You know, icons, they live forever because of their passion and they organicness of going about approaching their craft.
Right. I've always found myself that if I do what I love and what I'm good at, I get opportunities coming my way. So that is so true. Now, we all want to know, do you have any new music or projects coming soon you can tell us about?
I do. You know, I'm in the studio with, you know, a female by the name of Reese Marie. That's really dope that I've been dealing with for almost like 3 years now. That's that's actually got a single that's really, really starting to take off, and we just shot the video for it. So, I'm really excited about her project, along with the fact of people that want to know what I'm doing. I'm in the lab. I'm a perfectionist. A lot of people compare me to Dre because they're like, man, when you going to drop? You going to drop? But a lot of people don't understand that, when you're doing music and you take on two hats, it's very time-consuming to write and produce. And, you have so many thoughts, and then you have so many people that you're trying to help. I like to help other artists get to their goals as well. And it's easy for me to see other people's vision because I'm going to really be meticulous about my own vision. But I am working on an EP called Artist Producer. And that'll be probably the easiest thing to get out. That'll be dope before I drop the Fifth of Ski Tovin, because that's going to be really, really just like next level as far as musically and orchestral and, real classical, have that Beethoven theme, but it's going to still be street, but it's going to be real musically driven. So I'm definitely working on several projects. I got a, song out with me, Tech Nine, and Too Short called Wake 'Em Up. That's dope, that they've been playing on satellite radio, Shade 45. Shout out to K Slay. Shout out to Rude Jew, you know what I'm saying? Up All Night show, you know what I mean? Like the ones that's really supporting, underground records, you know what I mean? And really believe in what's going on. So, I'm definitely coming with some new stuff. I got a record that I did with a lot of big features on my album. I did a record with John Connors that's on Aftermath. I did a record, Crazy Bone just sent me a record. I did a record with Styles P. I got a lot of great records on my album, So, it's definitely, but, with all of the records being done, they still have to be cohesive to the album. So some of the records might not make it because it doesn't fit the theme of the album. So, I'm I got an approach to how I make records. I want the records to make sense. Not you hear it and it just look like, okay, this is all over the place. There's going to be a theme to it.
Yeah, that's understandable. So it sounds like you got a lot of heat coming for us. When can we be looking out for the new album?
You know what? I don't even like to give nobody album titles. It's just going to be organic. When it gets done, then that's when it's going to come. But hopefully, if you tell me, if you left it up to me, it could be, September, October, November. I don't know. I don't know yet.
Okay, so.
But trust me, I got pretty much the bulk of it done. It's just all about just making sure that, I feel where I feel about it, I'm my own worst enemy when it comes to my own projects, so.
Yeah, you say you're a perfectionist.
That's always gonna be a gray area conversation when you ask me when I'm gonna drop.
Yeah. So do you just usually just drop the album, or do you? So you don't usually set a date and then kind of promote it. You just drop it.
Not in 2016. Back 20 years ago, because it was an infrastructure. You drop, you set the audience up, they excited, they go to record stores, they go buy it. Now everybody's like, oh, when you gonna drop your record? For what? You're not gonna buy it. You're gonna be caught up on what's on the radio. So my stuff gonna go under the radar. So you can drop whenever you want to. You don't need to. The game ain't the same. There's no expectation. You have to go out and spend $1 billion just to get people to pay attention because music is so oversaturated. So you could drop whenever you want to drop. You know what I mean? I might drop 2-3 singles before I drop an EP. I don't know. I'm going to do it however I want to do it because that's where the game is at. There's no format, But the fans that really do deal with me, when they do come, they're going to be excited because they know they're going to get something creative and they're going to get something that's unique. It ain't going to be the same thing that you hear all the time. And that's the dopest thing about my fans is that they appreciate my creativity and they appreciate that they know it's going to sound incredible.
Definitely. Knowing that you are taking your time and strategically planning out your albums, not just throwing anything out there, we know that whatever you put out is going to be amazing. What type of advice would you give someone who's just starting to get into the music industry, whether it be an artist or a producer? What would you tell them, someone who's just starting to get in?
I mean, I just think anybody that's trying to get started, you really need to understand to be patient and pay dues. I think people look at TV and they look at videos and they look at this and they think that they're going to blow up overnight, and they don't, like, a lot of these beat makers and rappers, they're not really good. Like, I'm listening to them, their bars are terrible. They don't know how to write bars. They offbeat. The beat and the production is bad. You could tell that they don't understand sonics. And I say study your craft. This is definitely a business that you can be successful, and I think everybody can be successful, but don't cheat the process is always my advice. If you want it bad enough, like anything, be dedicated, put the work in, get the knowledge, pay attention, listen to people that's done it before you. Don't listen to people that haven't done it. There's nothing a person that haven't done it can tell you. I don't know why people have conversation with people that's like you doing music and you go talk to a mechanic and ask him, hey man, how does snare sound? He might tell you, hey, I like that, but he's not giving you a real opinion because he don't know. You have to surround yourself with people that's done it, that's been successful and willing to grow. And I think if you don't cheat the process and you continue to focus on your craft, every and anybody could be successful. But if you start cheating and you start hustling and you start looking for shortcuts and you're like, okay, I'm going to make a record like Drake, or I'll make a record like Future, or I'll make a record like Rich Homie Quan, like whoever's hot you trying to make a record like, that's when you're going to run into a dead end, because there's no really real growth that's going to come from you, because you're going to always have to be a chameleon. Every time the next person comes, you got to change into that person. So that's a scary game to play. Create your lane, study your craft, and when you study it, it's going to allow you to be creative where you ain't never going to have to follow nobody. You're going to know what sounds good. Even when the music changes, you're going to know how to do something without sounding like the next person.
Exactly. It's so important to develop your own identity in this business. Well, in anything for that matter. Thank you so much for joining us, EA Ski. It was such an honor talking with you. You gave us some good advice. Hopefully everybody was listening up. And also some good information about your background. I feel like we know you better. And we will be waiting for these new projects and this new album to drop because we know it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, so hopefully I ain't gonna have y'all waiting too long, man. I know it's been a long time, but there's a lot of mental preparation that goes into these records for me. Like a lot of people don't understand. I've been doing this since I was a kid, like I said, and I missed a lot of opportunities because of a lot of politics with labels, merging and not doing right by me. So now that I have it in my own control, I'm real meticulous. So when I drop something, I want it, like when I drop it, you can't take it back. You can't go back and say, oh, I wish I would have did this. I don't want to go back and say, I wish I would have did anything. I don't make excuses. When I put something out, I go hard. So, I'm just very meticulous, and music is changing every day. And, there's a lot of things out there that I feel like, I want to make sure that, they feel the power of production and lyrics. And sometimes that takes time to make my own masterpiece. How people perceive it, that's on them. But in my mind, I'm trying to make a masterpiece. I'm not just trying to throw records out to say, oh, he got a record out. I don't care about that. I can throw records out all day. I got a gang of records. It's all about making that product that people say, I got to buy this. I don't want this streamed. I don't want no bootleg. I got to go purchase this right now. This is crazy. That's the kind of response I want when I put out music. So my attitude is just much different than other people's expectations. Some people are just happy with just being popular and being seen and to each his own. But I don't want that. I want people to love what I do. When I drop, they purchasing, not talking about it. Like, hey, no, I ain't got it yet, but I like him. Nah, that ain't going to fly.
Well, it always reflects in your music, and the real fans know it. So I'm sure it's going to be much appreciated whenever the album does drop.
That's what I'm working on.
All right. Everybody be on the lookout for EA Ski. His contact info will be in the description box, so you can check him out on Twitter, Facebook, his official website, easki.com. Don't want to miss his albums, projects coming up, so stay connected. Thanks again, EA Ski, for being with us. We had a blast. Talk to you later.
That's what's up.